Hey guys, it's Silver Snorlax and I am back today with our February send-off video. February is a huge round. Matter of fact, it broke channel record not only for largest individual order, but largest group submission I've seen on this channel. The total group submission size is something like 320, 324. It's a very large round. There are a lot of cards involved here. And the largest order I actually received is right here on the right-hand side. That's about 160 cards. I forget the exact number, but I think it's pretty close to that. So February is gigantic. So not sure when we'll see these cards again. My guess is probably somewhere around May because of the size of the submission. Not sure if PSA will prioritize it first due to size, or if we'll see what we've kind of seen in the last couple of months. They're actually taking longer even on the bigger orders. So that may be something we kind of look at and consider a little bit. So let's jump right into it. The objective of this video is just kind of to hurry up and get through the cards as fast as we can, as I would like to do this in a single take, and try not to bore you guys too much in the process. So, cool thing about this big order is we got, I believe this is a complete holo set of one of the Japanese sets. I think it was like one of the first E-Series sets, and the name is escaping me at the moment. I actually had to do research on these particular cards in order to get the set names and stuff right, and that took a couple hours just to put them all through in order to fill out the paperwork for PSA. But regardless, there are a number of really cool cards in this set. Artwork on these are pretty tremendous. This is a beautiful collection. By every stretch of the imagination, some really good cards, and really the round itself, when I sorted through the round, has a decent amount of deviation, which I like. A lot of Japanese cards this send-off. So some really cool stuff. We'll see some duplicates here. Something I have noticed in previous rounds, especially over the past couple of months, is the number of duplicates that are submitted kind of been on the rise. I'm seeing a lot of Charizard X, Charizard Y, the English and Japanese versions in particular. Those are your kind of big money cards. You can turn a profit on them fairly quickly, if they grade high at least. So I've been seeing lots of that. In this particular order, I believe we have one user submitted something like 5 Charizard X. I think they were English. I forget. We'll see them as we go here. I believe that was pretty much the only heavy duplicate related series of cards I went through. So we actually have a fairly decent amount of deviation. That's good for viewing pleasure, if you will. That's good for that's good just to have a little variety. I always like having a little bit of variety. As we move through, this is still the first E-Series set. Moving through it, Dragonite here. Probably one of my favorite Pokemon cards, especially in this particular round. I noticed there were a handful of Dragonite cards that were here that I really liked. The artwork I thought was pretty tremendous on all of them, and I kind of found myself thinking, that's really a fantastic card to collect. Not entirely sure how well they sell. I think they sell fairly well on the market, depending on set and card, of course. But there are just some very illustratable cards, such as Dragonite, Arcanine being another one. I know I just kind of passed up an Arcanine. Those are typically some of the best cards I see in terms of artwork. Alright, moving right along and through. As we're moving right along, I'll chat a little bit. See how you guys are doing. Feel free to comment below any cards you like, cards you're excited to see come back graded. I know I'm excited to see a fair number of these. A lot of these I thought were absolutely stellar, especially some of these Japanese cards. And I'm not a big Japanese card fan. For those of you who know, I only collect English cards. Part of that is because I just like a card I can read. easily accessible cards, things of that nature. I thought some of these, I mean, like, even the Houndoom here is pretty fantastic stuff. So we've got good stuff to go through, definitely. So I'm excited for, I'll use initials here on this order. The individual's name, I'll just use initials, BWH. It's somebody I met on Facebook, actually. My Facebook grading page actually kind of blowing up a little bit. That's how a majority of people are contacting me these days, despite being kind of founded and started on YouTube. That is where I am seeing majority of people come in contact with me these days. So this guy wanted 160 cards done. Ran some estimates. Not cheap to do that. Not cheap on my end, certainly. I even did a little paperwork for him. Had to do a little bit of research on a handful of these cards. Thankfully, the cards submitted weren't too crazy. A lot of them I could find fairly quickly. I find the thing that kills me more than anything else when I process these orders, and that is where a majority of my time is spent. This order I think took me 10 hours, and that's with a series of breaks involved, but that's where I lose a majority of my time, is just sitting there and taking cards one by one, making sure they're the correct set and everything else, and then punching them into PSA's submission form. Finding that I use the online submission forms quite a bit. Those seem to be saving me the most time. I remember when I used to do these by paper. Oh, that takes forever. And you're just sitting there, your hand cramps up if you're doing it by paper. Don't get me wrong, your hand will cramp up after, hour 8, hour 9 on a computer as well. But the online submission forms I'm finding are significantly better, quicker, in order to put cards in. The only thing I don't like is, and maybe I should make a video while I'm sitting here talking about it, thinking about it. The only thing I dislike about PSA's order forms, especially when it comes to Pokemon cards, is that it doesn't always find the correct card unless you punch it in a certain way. For example, on a lot of the Japanese cards, the first word I need to type into the search bar is Japanese. I can't just type in, Rayquaza, EX, card number, year. It won't show, or it'll show a number of cards that aren't correct. But as soon as I type in Japanese, it finds it for me pretty quickly. So a couple quirky things I've noticed about that. Fun fact, if you go onto the online submission form and you have a bunch of base set 2 cards, and you type in base set 2 TWO, it will not find it. It will have absolutely no idea what you were talking about. You have to put base set, and then you have to capitalize the letter I and hit it twice, and that's how it finds anything. So a couple things I have found with PSA's online submission forms are that they're very quirky. You have to type things in a certain way, and you have to know certain ways to reference cards, such as base set, capital I. Otherwise it will not show. I find a lot of times the examples that I have to pull from the actual labels of cards, if I don't own the card myself, and my collection is still quite small. I don't think it's a very big collection, not even remotely. You have to, Google and check graded cards that currently exist. eBay is a fantastic source for that. But as soon as you find those graded cards, you have to type in basically the label, and that's the only way it'll find it. And even then, it's not always correct. So I had that issue a few times as well, especially with an order this size. Once you hit a rhythm, though, like I like orders like this one, where a lot of the cards are from sets. Like we'll see a lot of set cards come back graded, and they are done very quickly. So here we go as we keep moving through. I had only a handful of cards in this particular order that were scattered individuals, whatever the case may be. That's an awesome Blaziken, by the way. Gotta love that kickin' chicken. So yeah, so my February, I don't know about you guys, has actually been fairly busy. Like, my job that I have is actually, this is supposed to be the slow season, believe it or not. So like right after Easter in particular, we're supposed to die down. The only issue that I am concerned about is we're going through, excuse me, we're going through what is called a total store reset, where essentially what they do is they take the whole store. So if aisle one is condiments or whatever, your bread or whatever the case may be, they now shift that aisle to aisle 6. They take all the stuff that's on the shelves and they shift it to another place in the store completely. And they do that not only once, they'll do it multiple times throughout several weeks. And I got a couple of my guys who are worried about it and trying to kind of relearn the store. It just takes longer is what it ends up being. So I'm not sure, because we're supposed to be slow. We'll see how that goes. But with the store changing, I'm kind of a little bit worried I'll be stuck there for hours on end. I'm not real sure what's going to happen. I've actually been through store resets before. This one's supposed to be quick. It's only supposed to last just over a month. So we will see how that goes. But that's kind of the whole crux of my existence currently, is just kind of working in a grocery store, trying to get things done, even if things are chaotic. So we'll see. My staffing still hasn't picked up yet. That's the other thing that worries me. Turns out my store, out of all the stores in the chain, has #1 hiring needs. We're understaffed. The store itself is understaffed by about 10%, which is way too high. I am understaffed by like 35%. So we'll figure it out as we go. So there we go. That completes the order. Move on to the other set of cards. This is other individual users. Had a number of these come in. Took me a while to find this one, the Pokeball. Was thorough. Me finally found an example. First edition Machamp here. No shadow on that card, so that's pretty cool. I like these little pull tabs. I actually left them in the card sleeve. That'll be easier for somebody at PSA to remove them. I color kind of color coded to the actual card as well. I thought that was kind of cool. That's a very nice, unique little idea. These little pull tabs. I've seen them multiple times in the past for cards that are shipped to me, or if I'm watching a YouTube video and I see somebody else shipping them that way. That's actually a very good way to keep the card from being damaged. Obviously, you have to have the card sleeved, and I'd even recommend potentially double sleeving just in case the card slips. But I thought that was a cool idea. I've thought that for a while, actually. So we're moving right through. Here's the segment where I believe it was 5 of the Mega Charizards. What was it? 3, 4. There we go. 5. 5 Megas. And a couple more duplicates. Charizard Ys. 2, 3. And full art Charizard. That's probably the most concentrated amount of Charizard I've seen, at least in a while. We'll keep moving right along here. The pretend Pikachus are still pretty big on the market. Battle Festa stuff also still up there. We'll try and hurry up through this order a little bit. I sit here and chat about, Xerneas. Got lots of really cool Entei this round as well. We actually got a number of them that came through. I think this bad boy was resubmitted, the silver Meiji. This card actually, there was another card sent with this particular order. I actually had to kick it out. Somebody had actually very artistically drawn, like a full art version of this card. I thought it was really cool. Unfortunately, that is not something PSA will grade. But that is something for that has potential for green label encapsulation. So anytime you have a card PSA won't grade that is maybe customized, something like that, you can do what's called green label encapsulation. I do get asked about it every once in a while, where essentially what that is, and originally what the idea behind it was, is if you had kids who had their own like baseball card, like had a professional photographer take a picture of your kid's little league team or something like that, and then you could kind of make a little baseball card out of it. They could encapsulate something like that. That was the original idea behind it, but I'm actually finding green label encapsulation to be useful in other areas as well. People who do signature cards, people who kind of add their own artistic flair to cards. That can be done if that's something that you just want to have done because you think it's cool. Espions coming through, so that is something that can be done. It's a separate fee, and I'd have to look into what it is, but I think it's fairly cheap. I think it's like $5 for the encapsulation, and then shipping's separate. But it's a fairly cheap thing to do if you're going straight through